Donald Trump announces at a rally that he's probably going to have to do it again, meaning running for president. Of course, he has a lot of issues with how the current country is being run, the current administration not doing so hot in a number of different areas, but questions are now surrounding Trump. Is he going to be running again or not? He's got a lot of open issues that are sort of dogging him, many people would say, including what's going on at Mar-a-Lago. We are going to take a look at a new filing in the Mar-a-Lago case, as well as get updates on what's taking place with the January 6th subpoena and that entire saga. But first, let's listen to Trump, because he's got some issues with the Biden administration and the DOJ and the FBI. And something we've been talking about for a long time here on this channel has been the weaponization of all of these institutions to go take out their political opponents. It's not just the raid on Trump's residence. It's not just the prosecution of Steve Bannon or Peter Navarro or the J6ers, but it's everybody, right? It's expanded beyond what anybody thought was possible. Now with Joe Biden even calling many Americans ultra extremist MAGA insurrectionists from the gates of hell while he's giving speeches addressing the country. It's turned into an insane little debacle that we're all living through, and Trump is addressing that. Trump at a rally said, the weaponization of these institutions is not sustainable, and the Biden administration is continuing to try to eviscerate the entire MAGA movement.
Before our very eyes, Biden and his left-wing handlers are turning America into a police state. And I don't even think it's Biden, to be honest with you. But they got some bad people around.
He's gone.
Like something straight out of a communist country. See, I used to say socialist, but we've skipped socialism. We don't talk about that. I don't even mention it anymore. We're not socialists anymore. We're communists. We've gone over socialism. We're gone. It's over. It's communist. They're talking about communists. There's a communist system that we're putting up with right now.
Equity.
The radical Democrats are locking up pro-life activists, persecuting their political opponents, spying on their political rivals, silencing dissent, and using the full force of government, law enforcement, and the media to try and crush our movement. And let me tell you, the media is a big problem because they're corrupt and dishonest.
Everybody's in on it, from the media to the FBI to the DOJ to all, even the J6 committee, many Republicans on there, all joining in on the big dog pile, doing whatever they can to eliminate Trump. Anybody who thinks about Trump, anybody who voted for Trump, anybody who identifies as a MAGA person, all have to be removed. And Trump saying, this is bigger than just me. It's to try to stop the entire movement, not only Donald Trump, but everybody else who voted for him. And the crowd responding, acknowledging that the media is complicit in the entire onslaught. But all of that to say, is there anybody who can reverse this? Is there anybody who can address this? Anybody interested at all in jumping in there and battling back against the DOJ? Donald Trump saying, I may have to do this all again. What the Biden administration is doing is devastating America, and there is only one person who can right this course.
And now, in order to make our country successful, safe, and glorious again, I will probably have to do it again.
All right, so Trump saying with a little bit of a smirk in the air, I'll probably have to do it again. The crowd goes wild. Everybody loves to see it because they know that Trump is different than the rest of the GOP. Everybody else, like the McConnells and the Lindsey Grahams, they just sit around comfortably in their Senate seats, waiting for the Democrats to get done getting fat at the Treasury until it's their turn again. Then they can go get fat at the Treasury until they get fat and full, and it's the Democrats' turn again. Everybody's tired of that. Nobody likes to see the weaponization of the DOJ. Trump gave us many examples of exactly how that's happening, demanding. He's really the only person who's speaking up about it. I mean, Jim Jordan and some of the other, Trumpers are sort of also coming up behind him, so to speak. But where's the rest of the party establishment speaking out for the J6ers? Where were the rest of them on the raid? Have any of them even spoken up? Mitch McConnell was asked like 13 times, hey, Mitch, You know, the DOJ went after Donald Trump, the former president of this country. Do you have any concerns about that at all? He says, well, there's flooding in Kentucky, so I'd rather talk about that. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. So that's the GOP not doing anything. New filing in the Trump Mar-a-Lago saga, drafted going over to the special master Raymond Dearie. You see, this was published October 24th. It's 3 pages coming out of the U.S. Department of Justice, the National Security Division. This is a joint memo from both Trump's team and the prosecutor's office recommending a resolution to the special master. They write, "Dear Judge Dearie, plaintiff and the government's privilege team, collectively called the parties, have resolved all outstanding attorney-client privilege disputes with respect to the materials that have been segregated." Well, that's interesting. So we don't have any more attorney-client privilege issues at all? Specifically, in the interests of efficiently resolving these issues and avoiding the unnecessary litigation, the parties offer the following. They say, this is from Trump and the prosecution. They say, Trump withdraws his initial claims of attorney-client privilege and the attorney work product doctrine with respect to the following materials, all through filter A. All the way through filter C, they give us a big list of the documents. Now, we don't know what these are, right? Document 5, don't know what the title is, don't know if it's emails or, notes or birthday cards or national security top secret nuclear codes. We don't know. But what we do know is Trump is withdrawing those attorney-client privilege claims. Trump is saying that I don't even intend to assert that now, which was kind of a big deal because if you recall, the last time we talked about all of these different spreadsheets, we were putting these items into different buckets. They ran out with 15 boxes, tens of thousands of pages of documents, and we're trying to determine, are these the government's documents or are these Trump's documents? Trump says they're mine. One of the reasons they're his is because of attorney-client privilege and work product doctrine. If Trump is withdrawing those protections, it's sort of like some of those force fields that were up are now going down. Why is that? And the government and Trump, right, this is a joint memo. They say Trump previously did not assert attorney-client privilege or work product doctrine with respect to those items. And they say the parties do agree that these materials can now immediately be provided to the government's case team, so the issues concerning the next force fields, like executive privilege and the Presidential Records Act, can be resolved. And so as we've talked about this in the past, there's sort of, force fields that go up. And if you knock one out, you might have a force field protection from another mechanism. So for example, even though attorney work client and work product privilege doctrine have both been withdrawn, in other words, Trump is not asserting those force fields, there are others. There could be executive privilege force field or Presidential Records Act force field. So now they're saying, now that we've gotten rid of the attorney-client privilege stuff, perfect. Now our team can sort through these because remember, if it is attorney-client and work product doctrine stuff, then that makes it sort of only reviewable by certain teams. So they're withdrawing those parameters so that the different team can come back in and work on it. The government, through its privilege review team, agrees to handle document 17, okay, so whatever that is, in the same manner as the other materials. Namely, the filter privilege review team will return the originals to Trump but maintain a control copy. Again, we don't know what those are. You can see, in conclusion, the parties jointly, that's an interesting little statement there. Last week, the prosecution filed a document and they said it was a joint document, but it was only signed by the prosecutors. It wasn't signed by the defense. So now they say, in conclusion, the parties jointly and respectfully submit that all issues concerning the attorney-client work product and attorney-client privilege doctrines have been resolved. Now take a look. Signed by Benjamin Hawk. He's over at the National Security Division. Okay, works for the government. Managing assistant at the U.S. Attorney's Office out of Palm Beach. That's Anthony LaCosta. Got that. And we saw that last week. But what we didn't see, unless we missed it, was this. Counsel for Trump, who signed off on the document. The last document, this was all missing. And Trump and his defense team, they filed a response and the judge said, yeah, but you're too late. You filed a response. You should have consulted with them. And they said, well, they didn't consult with us and they just filed it without our input. And they were sort of, kind of scolding, or not scolding, but sort of reminding Special Master Raymond Dearie that he asked for a joint memo and the prosecutors only submitted a one-sided memo. But now this one is joint. Why? Because here's James Trusty. Oh, that's Trump's lawyers. Oh, good. They're on the same document now. Oh, good. Oh, Christopher Kesey. He's also on there. Nice. Along with Evan Corcoran and Lindsay Halligan. All there. Previously, they were not on there. So this actually looks like a joint memo. Great news. Prosecutors not blindsiding them anymore by submitting stuff directly to the courts. But that's only one saga, and we're going to, of course, continue to keep our eyes on that. There is an 11th Circuit issue where the government has now filed with the 11th Circuit to see if they can reverse the entire special master order and remove Special Master Raymond Dearie. We'll see how that goes. Of course, there's going to be a lot of updates on that, and that might change the course of this entire case. I mean, if that happens, Trump's claim is very likely going to be dismissed and it'll all go dark again. So we'll see. Liz Cheney and the January 6th Select Committee, they have sent Donald Trump a subpoena. So not only is he facing sort of this criminal investigation out of the Mar-a-Lago documents, he's got Letitia James, he's got Alvin Bragg, who's out of New York, all prosecuting him. He's got inquiries in Georgia and all over the place. But he's also got a January 6th subpoena. Should Donald Trump show up and testify in front of the January 6th Select Committee? I think he should. It'd be a lot of fun. I would love to hear what he had to say about this. I think that he'd probably have some choice words for Liz Cheney, and it would be good for America to see exactly what is on Trump's mind as it relates to this, because so far it's only been the Liz show, and we're all tired of the Liz show. But Cheney doesn't want this to turn into something that she loses control of. She sent Trump a subpoena. She may be a little bit cautious now, wondering, did she awaken a monster?
Is the committee open to his supposed offer, or at least behind the scenes offer, of going on live television?
So the committee treats this matter with great seriousness, and we are going to proceed in terms of the questioning of the former president under oath. Mm-hmm. It may take multiple days, and it will be done with a level of rigor and discipline and seriousness that it deserves. We are not going to allow the former president. He's not going to turn this into a circus. This isn't going to be, his first debate against Joe Biden and the circus and
the entire January 6th Select Committee is a circus. They brought in Cassidy Hutchinson, the clavicle girl, to tell us about Trump almost commandeering the Secret Service agent's vehicle and taking over the Capitol building. They have presented no adversarial witnesses. The whole thing has been a giant book report with a bunch of very dull-witted Democrats reading from teleprompters day after day after day. It's not anything resembling an actual criminal process, has no inkling of due process or equal protection of the laws. The entire thing's a circus. So why wouldn't they bring Donald Trump in here to come in here and partake?
Food fight that became. This is far too serious set of issues, and we've made clear exactly what his obligations are, and we're proceeding with that set out.
If you don't get cooperation from him, do you have time for this legal fight?
No.
We have many alternatives that we will consider if the former president decides that he is not going to comply with his legal obligation, the legal obligation every American citizen has to comply with a subpoena.
They are really trying hard. If Trump denies this thing, what comes next? Well, we've already seen this. Steve Bannon got prosecuted, got convicted, got sentenced to 60 days, 2 months in prison. Would that same thing happen to Donald Trump? Many people say, no, there's not enough time. By the time this works its way through the courts, the January 6th Select Committee is likely to be dissolved. The Republicans will win the House of Representatives. They will turn around and say, we don't need this garbage Select Committee that has been illegally constituted this entire time. To continue this circus, as Liz Cheney called it, is going to be disbanded, and Liz Cheney can go back to whatever it is she does. I don't even know what she does. Warmongering with whatever entity her daddy works for. Who knows? But she's not going to be in Congress because she got obliterated by 40 points in Wyoming. Shout out to our friends in Wyoming. But Liz is a little bit panicky. Did she seem a little bit nervous there? She sort of like, uh-oh, we invited Trump. Now what if Trump wants to show up here? She seemed a little bit sort of, we're not going to let this, look at that face right there. Uh-oh, right there. There it is. I didn't think I was going to be able to freeze frame it, but there it is. That's the panic face. That's the, we're not going to let this turn into a circus. Sort of looking down to the left. Here it is.
The committee treats this matter with great seriousness. And we are going to proceed in terms of the questioning of the former president under oath. It may take multiple days. And it will be done with a level of rigor and discipline and seriousness that it deserves. We are not going to allow the former president. He's not going to turn this into a circus. This isn't going to be, his first debate against Joe Biden. And
yes, he is, Liz. You can't control that. You can't control it. Put it open, broadcast it. Let us all see it. Broadcast it just like you did with Cassidy Hutchinson, the clavicle queen, the one who detailed the horrific moment that Trump almost wrecked the country. We have some bizarre people in charge. Now, we also have Nancy Pelosi. Now, she's struggling. They're all trying to find ways to get under Trump's skin. Nancy Pelosi thinks that if she is insulting enough to Donald Trump, if she squeezes on his manhood, I was trying to not say that. If Nancy Pelosi squeezes on Trump's manhood, she thinks that maybe she can goad him into showing up in front of the committee.
Take it to the bank. I have to ask you about the January 6th committee. On Friday, they officially subpoenaed Donald Trump. Do you think he'll actually appear for the deposition? And what does it say to the American people if he doesn't?
I don't think he's man enough to show up.
Oh, anything else? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Madam Speaker. I literally could not hear what you said.
I said, you asked me if I thought he was going to show up. And I said, I don't think he's man enough to show up. I don't think his lawyers will want him to show up because he has to testify under oath. But I don't think he'll show up. I don't think he's man enough. We'll see. We'll see if he's man enough to show up.
Feels like a very gendered insult to connect manliness with comporting with the law. Feels a little bit patriarchal, actually. Man enough. It's a gendered phrase, isn't it not? I'd like her to define that phrase for us, please. Yeah, it's a strange phrase coming out of the very diverse and inclusive Democratic House leader.
And the public should make a judgment. No one is above the law. If we believe that, then they should make a judgment about how he responds to that request.
And if he doesn't respond to that request, what should the American people take from that?
I should take that he thinks that he is above the law.
Or that he's a woman.
Whatever actions the committee may take is up to them. I've kept my distance from their decision-making. But whatever they decide will also send a message about his respect. He isn't honoring the oath we take to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's a serious oath that we all take.
Yeah, Nancy.
And
you botched the oath on that one pretty badly when you failed to secure the Capitol building. Wasn't it your House Sergeant at Arms and the Senate Sergeant at Arms who were supposed to be responsible for making sure that the most important building on one of the most important days in this country was secure? Donald Trump made several offers, including to Mayor Muriel Bowser and to the Senate Sergeant at Arms through the Capitol Hill Police. But you turned it down. Where was your constitutional obligation to protect America back in the days leading up to January 6th? Wasn't anywhere to be found. But she keeps going back to this manliness thing, which is strange because if Trump doesn't show up, then that means he's not manly. And what does that mean about what is that? Is it womanly? What's the alternative of not manly? Is it? I don't even know. This gets complicated. There's too many different divisions in the alphabet to sort all this stuff out, and I can't keep track, so we'll just defer.
Most of us have more respect for the office he held than he had. But why are we talking about him? We're talking about the future. Babies born now will live into the next century. We're going to make sure that we have a world that is safe for them, a democracy that is strong for them, and values that are respected, the dignity and worth of every person.
Not much out of her mouth other than some very insulting gendered terms towards the former president. And she's our speaker. She's the House Speaker. Yeah, not good. All right. Now, this is an amazing clip. This clip is sort of a long one, but I want to go through it because it's just outstanding. MSNBC anchor gets blown out by alleged insurrectionists. These are Trump voters who don't buy the mainstream standard narrative coming out of these agencies.
Mastriano was at the insurrection and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So,
yep, we covered it here.
They opened the gates.
So
and
it
let them
shouldn't
in.
be disqualifying for an elected official if they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran was
That's
shot
the
by
only one that
police.
died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No,
He died
it was
of
a
heart attack.
stroke.
That's
That's not on site.
Caused by that. That's because
Right.
he shouldn't have been a police officer. It was one woman.
So
who was
what do
shot.
you make, though, overall of January 6th? And
So backing up on that point, did you hear? Let's go through just a couple of these little lies here. You hear from this individual. Let's just slow this down. This is an MSNBC news anchor, and the way she's characterizing this whole saga is called an insurrection, right? Listen.
Mastriano was at the insurrection and he
At the
was
insurrection.
photographed
That's the
breaching
label.
one of the restricted
At the insurrection.
areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So,
They opened the gates
So
and
it
let them
shouldn't
in.
be disqualifying for an elected official if they
as long as he
participated in
didn't-
January
he
6th?
didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol police
Unarmed
officer.
female.
And here on this channel, we watched video, many of them, of police opening the barricades up outside of the Capitol building and even inside the Capitol building. We saw that one clip where officers were actually getting messages sort of over the radio. One officer goes up to another officer, taps him on the shoulder, and then whispers something in his ear. And then all 4 or 5 of them all stand down. They all walk back inside. And that's when the crowd walks in. And every single one of those persons was going to be considered to be a trespasser, right? That was criminal trespass now. That's parading, picketing, whatever inside of the Capitol building. Many, many hundreds of people out of the 1,000 or so who have been actually prosecuted, many hundreds, all charged with trespass crimes, just like you would get at any bar or Old Town or public event or concert or anything like that. Minor. And these people didn't do anything that it was even closely considerable to that. They were never asked to leave, many of them. Many of them were encouraged in there before they got charged with criminal trespass. Now you can make the argument that they should have known or not should have known, but if the cops are waving you in and standing down, that's sort of implied consent to, all right, go on in. Not presuming you're going to get charged with crimes after the fact. Now, this other lady, this is the same sort of situation that Jake Tapper found himself in when he was talking to Boris Johnson. He said to Boris, people died. Oh my God, people died on January 6th. This is one of these talking points that people on MSNBC and all of the other CNN sites, they can't get over. People died on January 6th. It was Ashley Babbitt, and she was shot to death by somebody who was buried underneath the dark of cover for a very long time. But the talking points still reside top of mind for these people at MSNBC.
Female veteran was
That's
shot
the only
by
one that
police.
died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No.
Yeah, that was Brian Sicknick. Remember Brian Sicknick? He died the next day. And it was by natural causes. Many people at the time were saying, oh no, he got sprayed with bear spray. No, nobody was charged with his murder. He got hit over the head. Nope, nobody charged with anything. They did a deep dive investigation. They gave him a state funeral, and they paraded his death. They exploited his death, to be more accurate. They took advantage of his death. They exploited his memory and ransacked his family for their political purposes. Now, it may have been good. The family may have gotten help and care, and it may have been very peaceful, and they got, whatever healing and hope. I hope they're doing very well and very recovered. But the Democrats, they didn't give a damn about their well-being. They wanted a dead cop that they could parade around in front of all of America. And they did. And they're still doing it. And this lady is still making the same talking point, the same hoax. She's shoving it down their gullets again. Yeah, but a police officer died of natural causes. Didn't you see the coroner's report, lady?
Protester there, not a Capitol Police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran was
That's
shot
the only
by
one that
police.
died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No, it
Died
was
of
a
heart attack.
stroke.
That's
not on site.
Caused by that. That's
Fact
He
check.
shouldn't have been a police officer. It
Fact
was
check,
one woman
lady.
who
So what do
shot
you
her.
make, though, overall of January 6th? I mean, watching that footage, it was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot like Antifa's actions.
Yeah, it looked
to
a
me.
lot, except on a much smaller scale. It looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw the
Every single
similarities
city
to
around
be.
the country, not just
Minneapolis
one.
burns, Kenosha burns.
But so it's okay
Waukesha
just because
burns. Like,
one side that you
No,
disagree with?
I'm
it's
saying
okay
Antifa
for-
No, if
infiltrated.
it's good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody
I don't
who
see it
harms
that way.
anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if you're
on
there
either
making
side.
your voice heard at the
Right.
people's house, no less,
Yeah.
People's house.
that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen, and people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
That's East Germany.
Tactics.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
Especially when they're being waved in. They're asking for $34 million now. More. $34 million in addition to what the DOJ already gets, which is about $2.7 billion. And they're making homegrown domestic violent extremism and anybody who's even remotely connected to it the subject of the inquisition from the DOJ and the FBI. This guy's saying, yeah, where was all of that for BLM or Antifa that caused real damage all over the place? The Capitol building, yeah, it was not a good scene. We were streaming live that day. I was not happy with what I saw, of course. But it was done and over in about 3.5 hours, and they were back in there voting for the president that night. So it wasn't the end of the world. They have turned it into a 2-year political inquisition to go and take out the entire Republican Party. And he is saying feels a little bit inappropriate, especially when they're encouraging people to waltz right in the front door.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest.
Oh!
And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in your eyes because...
Fiery but mostly peaceful protest. That's all it was. Let's rewind that again. This woman wins the internet of the day. She is characterizing the January 6th protests in the media's terms. Very simple. It was a fiery but mostly peaceful protest.
That's what's scary.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest.
Outstanding.
And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in your eyes
Administration,
because...
I feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're using it as.
Very astute
Do you
observation.
think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him personally.
I don't think so, no.
I don't think so.
It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump, little did I know.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually,
No, he didn't.
I stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did. Mm-hmm. And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices be heard. And we get to the Capitol, we're like, what the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw Democratic operatives instigating people to cross barriers.
Of course, they were all over the place. Even the FBI and the DOJ know it. They won't admit it. They had Ray Epps on there, like number 16, FBI most wanted after this all took place. And then guess what happened? Oh, shoot, he's one of ours, FBI said. So they went, they got their eraser, like, because they're usually working with crayons and markers and coloring books over there. So they get their eraser and they're like, get Ray Epps off there. And they erase Ray Epps off of the most wanted list. We saw Jill Sanborn hauled in front of Congress. She was asked by Ted Cruz, were there any undercover federal agents in there instigating some of these events? And she says, well, of course, Ted. I can't talk about those things because of ongoing investigations. And, I can't tell you how we do things over here, which means, of course, they were there. Still haven't found the pipe bomber. Don't know where all of the Fed boys were hiding, but we certainly know that they were there or they were incompetent because how could they possibly allow this to happen? Unless they wanted it to, which, as this young man said, He thinks they were allowing it to happen. I agree with him. This has given them entirely new mechanisms by which to remove Donald Trump. They wanted to set him up so that he could fall right in it and blame the whole thing on him. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi has a camera crew. She's walking around the Capitol building on fake phone calls with Mike Pence. Are you okay? Have you been murdered yet? They say we're going to have to be here for 3 days because they are coming in here with axes. No, I haven't gotten my head chopped off yet, but it might be any minute now. Totally ridiculous. They were back there in 4 hours. Dumb stories, all being used for political purposes. That's what the DNC is doing these days. And they're joined by their newest member, who is certainly going to be Liz Cheney soon enough. But that's Donald Trump. Of course, he's saying he's probably going to do the whole thing again. We will continue to cover. Thank you for joining us as we make our way through the Trump saga and more. And for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.